New Jersey, Mr. Sears.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I've been here now 13 years, and I came here when Paulson, I was in financial services, and Paulson came in before the committee. I thought he was going to cry as he was describing the financial situation in this country. And it really made an impact on me. You know, we had difficult votes to take. We were able to save the auto industry. We were able to save basically this country with all the things with the Recovery Act that we put together. So as things came along, one of the things that I was upset about, and it's one of the things I want to talk to you about, is investment in infrastructure. I did not feel that we did enough investment during the Recovery Act on infrastructure. And here we are now looking to see what we can do to prevent any kind of recession in the future, and we don't seem to be making the investment that we need in infrastructure. I was just wondering, how do you feel about investment in infrastructure as a way of hedging off any kind of recessions, or what part of it is it? Anyway.
So, Congressman, I think infrastructure investment is very important for the long-term growth of the economy, and my judgment agrees with yours that we should be doing more infrastructure investment in this country. But its role in fighting recessions is hindered by the fact that many forms of infrastructure have long setup times. If we're trying to fix the airports around New York City, that's not a thing that really is shovel-ready. That's the thing that takes time to prepare. So throwing a lot of money at infrastructure during a period of economic weakness may or may not lead to extra spending when the economy needs it. As it turned out in the last recession, it was long enough and deep enough that even the slow payout of infrastructure spending turned out to provide important stimulus as that went on. But for many recessions in this country that have been shorter, infrastructure spending can come late. So it's important for long-term growth, but I would say less central to addressing a recession when a recession hits, which is why some of the comments here have been more about payments to individuals and payments to states.
So rather than having a largest stimulus infrastructure, do I understand that you favor a strong amount of money, even?
Yes.
In order to head off any kind of recessions?
Well, I think we should have a higher level of infrastructure investment funded by the federal government to ensure the long-term growth of the country. I don't think that will particularly forestall a recession or is the best way to address a recession when it hits.
I was wondering, you were talking about immigration. And can you tell me how immigration would help? Because it seems that it's become a bad word around here, immigration.
So let me first just say that there is complete agreement across the ideological spectrum on every word that Doug Elmendorf just said on the infrastructure. It's not a cyclical issue. It should be dealt with as a proactive policy of raising the trend growth rate. That's a good idea. Immigration. The reality is that native-born Americans do not have enough kids. So in the absence of immigration, the size of the population will shrink. It will become increasingly old. The size of the economy will shrink and will be a less vital and less important presence on the world stage. The flip side to that is all of our choices about the future reside on how we want to run our immigration system. Who are we going to admit and what are we going to value? Traditionally, the United States has focused on humanitarian issues in immigration. The last reforms were done in the 60s, and the primary criteria were family unification and refugee and asylum status, I think indicative of the character of this country. But many other of our competitor developed countries use immigration as a tool of economic policy, and I think it would be a good idea for us to do that too. Under 5% of our permanent visas are granted for economic reasons. We could establish criteria by which we wanted people to come in who were going to be able to bring their productivity to the United States, bring their entrepreneurial vigor. Immigrants traditionally work more, work longer, start businesses, create jobs. We can take advantage of that going forward in a more systemic fashion.
So in other words, we used to think in terms of immigration on a humanitarian basis, but they still worked and they still contribute.
They did, and so without trying, they have contributed enormously. If we tried, we could do better.
It was still a stimulus for the economy.
Yeah, it's essential.
It's essential.
Yes.
And here we are today, somehow thinking that immigration is bad. in this, coming to this country, because there are jobs in this country that even though you get a 5% of well-educated people coming into the country, they have a job they're not going to do. And we need that immigration of people, that those startup jobs that come on humanitarian basis to become part of the American economy. I mean, I see it in my district. I see it myself. I was an immigrant. I came here when I was 11 years old. I saw my parents, no education, worked in a factory, yet they contribute. So I just think we have to rethink this issue of immigration, that we want selective immigration. You know, there's got to be a way that we can bring immigration so people can add to the economy like they've done in the past. This country was built on immigration. And most of them came humanitarian necessities. So there you are. I've been over. Sorry, I apologize.
That's all right. Gentleman's time has expired. Now recognize the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Johnson.